Transfiguration Movement, number 33, The Chosen Few, by Mikhail Korbanyahu. Maimonides points out that in verse 15, the words life and good are in apposition, while death and evil are twinned. Says Maimonides, this is because in every act of good, there is an element of choosing life. In every act of evil, there is an element of choice of death. Overall, the purpose of the covenant is to repair the world so that life flourishes in this world and all its dignities are honored. But the committed member of the covenant cannot act in every matter at the level of perfection because the world is not fully redeemed. At this moment, every act in every life situation involves a mixture of life and good and of death and evil. Therefore, to live up to the covenant, every individual needs to live consciously. People must size up every situation before acting, ascertain the mix of good and evil, and shape the act to maximize elements of life and minimize elements of death. The innovation in living covenantally is to literally become aware of every human behavior and not do it routinely. Rather, one should shape actions or modify them to, in some measure, increase the life quotient and minimize the death quotient in the act. Choose Life by Rabbi Yitz Greenberg. I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day. I have put before you life and death, blessing and curse. Choose life, if you and your offspring would live, by loving your Eloah, Yah, heeding Eloah's commands, and holding fast to Eloah. For thereby you shall have life and shall long endure upon the soil that Yah swore to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give to them. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verses 19 and 20. If you're reading this, chances are you've been feeling it. You know you're different. You've been called higher, so stop second-guessing your chosenness. It's time to live like it, think like it, speak like it, manifest like it. Because now is not the time to play humble in a way that hides your holiness. You weren't called to blend in. You were called to be chosen, and you were called to break the mold. Every day, we see that this world is running on broken ideas, fractured ideologies, and upside-down values. But the chosen don't run with the crowd. We walk in covenant. Maimonides once said, the more a person sets his thoughts upon the existence of Elohim and its works, the more he is drawn to it, into reality itself. That's the essence of being chosen. And being chosen is what leads to manifestation, which is to bring reality into alignment with the holy by directing your thoughts toward truth. And the truth is, you don't manifest by mere wishing. You manifest by harmonizing your mind and resonating your frequency with the source of all that is. The deeper you reflect on the Creator and its design, the more your internal world begins to mirror the higher world. And manifestation becomes not magic, but alignment. This isn't simply philosophy or religion. It's spiritual science. Because the more you meditate on the reality that Elohim has already authored, the more you step into that reality and call it forth through your faithfulness, feelings, and frequency. To me, one of the most beautiful things about life is its mystery. Given the vast reaches of life and all its profundities, from birth to death, there are times when all that we can do is contemplate on all that life is and its wonders. This is why to this day I often find myself sitting in silence, reflecting on what life is all about. And I'm not just talking about the hustle and flow or the 9-to-5 grind. I'm not even talking about purpose in the way that the world frames it. I'm more so talking about what is the meaning of it all in life as we know it. Like, what makes our hearts beat? What makes our blood flow? What makes our brain fire? What keeps us breathing? These questions are deeper than just biological explanations that we've been taught by science, because beneath the surface, We all know that there is more to it than just biological functions. After meditating, praying, and studying, I've eventually come to this profound yet simple revelation. Life, in its quest, is all a test. And when I say that life is a test, I don't mean that it's some pass or fail type of exam, but more along the lines of a spiritual evaluation, a supernatural opportunity to align with the knowledge that restores us to our original design and nature. Given my experiences and insights, I'm now fully convinced that life in its truest form is about regaining the knowledge that returns us to our universal purpose, to reflect the image and likeness of Elohim, to subdue the earth, and to be fruitful and multiply. It is this knowledge that elevates, transforms, and ultimately manifests with every test that we pass, which graduates the chosen to the next level. Now, allow me to say this with all humility and transparency. I don't claim to have all the answers or to know everything. I will, however, say that I'm still manifesting my purpose into reality and that I'm still on my learning journey, still searching, still being challenged, still overcoming, and still being stretched. I'll also admit that I do know this, though. On this journey, I have encountered eternal wisdom, and that my studies have provided me with valuable insights from the Torah, prophetic whispers from the Messianic scriptures, and ancient Kabbalistic blueprints. I've been able to experience sublime downloads from study, prayer, and life experience. Even with all this, the challenge that yet confronts me daily is this. How do I translate the wisdom I've encountered into action? How do I live what I know? This is where I found that vibration enters the equation. One of my favorite commentaries on the Torah, the Zohar, teaches that all of creation vibrates with heavenly intention. The Sefirot, a book attributed to the patriarch Abraham, reveals that the Creator formed the universe through 32 wondrous paths of wisdom, where letters, numbers, and sounds converge into reality. As such, the Hebraic tradition perceives that everything is encoded with vibrational essence. Science affirms this through quantum mechanics and string theory, where even matter is seen as vibrating energy. And with all intents and purposes, relative to this journey of being chosen, here's where the line gets drawn in the sand between those chasing applause and those tuned to the approval of heaven. Because real ones, the wise, the chosen, aren't looking for validation from crowds or confirmation from platforms for their wisdom and accomplishments. As Yeshua said in John 5:44, how can you believe when you receive glory from one another and do not seek the glory that comes from the only Elohim? So in essence, being chosen is to realize that this walk is not about spectators. It's about source. It's not about who sees you. It's about who sent you. Just as Yohanan the Immerser said, I am not the light, but I came to bear witness of the light in John 1:8. We're not here to be esteemed as individuals, but to transmit the vibration of the Most High to individuals. That's why the chosen don't move with rhythms of popularity. We move in harmony with the holy frequency. So to make it real plain, this life isn't about popularity, nor is it about who got the biggest platform, the flashiest garments, or who speaks the cleanest Hebrew. It's about who's been chosen to serve. And the truth of the matter is that not everyone has been. That may sound hard, but truth isn't always soft or agreeable. The prophet Isaiah said, though your people be like the sand by the sea, only a remnant will return. To Isaiah 10:22. Yeshayahu was clear. There are many, but only a few will actually walk out the calling. Likewise, Zechariah prophesied that only a third will be brought through the fire and refined as silver in Zechariah 13:9. And Shaul echoed this when he wrote in Romans 11:5. So too, at the present time, there is a remnant chosen by favor. Even Yeshua explained through a parable of a wedding feast that just because some have been invited doesn't mean that they will be able to enjoy the festivities on the occasion given their unpreparedness, which leads him to make the classic statement that many are called, but few are chosen. That's in Matthew 22:1-14. That's the few, the chosen few, the ones who didn't just hear the call, but with faithfulness responded accordingly. Additionally, Yeshua didn't say, "Hope really hard and make it happen." He said, "If you ask anything in my name, I will do it." John 14:14. Now, most folks either don't understand what he meant or flat out don't believe it. Then there's also the possibility that they just believe it abstractly. But to really get it, let's dig deeper. That kind of promise requires a mental transformation, a shift in mindset, not just belief, but alignment. Why so? Because faith isn't some ethereal thing floating in the atmosphere. Faith is a frequency, vibration, a resonance. When our thoughts, words, and actions are vibrating at the level of the King, miracles stop being rare and something thought of as supernatural. They become natural. Allow me to illustrate a matter with this. It is a personal anecdote from back during my high school days. During my sophomore year, as the starting tailback for the FM Hornets, I was grinding hard, trying to get my team into a winning position on the football field, a first for the school in years. I wasn't flashy on the field, but I was talented. I had heart, vision, and an unspeakable drive to win, unshakable drive to win. Then one day, my former junior varsity coach pulled me aside. I'll never forget his words. He said, "Mike, you'll never get a football scholarship. You should just play lacrosse for me instead." Now mind you, I had never played lacrosse a day in my life, nor was I even familiar with the sport. Not to say that if I had played, I wouldn't have been an all-star for real. But that man didn't know me, nor what the Most High had planted within me. He saw my present, but I had already glimpsed my future. And despite what he said, I didn't internalize it. In fact, I refused to make his opinion my reality and use what he said as momentum to go about manifesting the reality that I knew was in me. But talk about no vibes, I entirely didn't feel that coach from that day forward. So much so that even though my senior class lacrosse team went on to win the state championship in '93, I didn't so much as attend a single game of the lacrosse team from my sophomore year forward. What I did though, starting my sophomore year, was started training harder, thinking differently, speaking differently, and taking myself seriously. I began visualizing myself suiting up, running out of a college tunnel to the field and making plays. See, I saw it in my mind way before I ever touched the field, and I refused to accept failure as fate. I prayed, trained, studied, and spoke life. I had setbacks too, though. Halfway through the season my sophomore year, I was tackled into a foyer window in the hallway of my high school by the junior tailback whose position I had taken sophomore year. I had received over 20 stitches from the ordeal as a large piece of glass was sticking out my back after the impact into the window shattered the glass. Fortunately, no serious damage was done, even though the glass was centimeters away from both the major artery and my spine. And when it happened, I actually didn't feel a thing, with just a little weight on my back. I remember looking back over my shoulder to see a piece of glass sticking up. I calmly removed it, and then when I heard the gasp and saw the guilty running away, that's when I knew something was wrong. What's crazy is, I don't even think he got suspended from the incident. But me, on the other hand, I was forced to miss the latter part of the football season and the early part of the basketball season. But when I came back on the gridiron the next season, I made sure to let him know that I didn't forget and got my lick back during a practice during scrimmage, lighting him up as he came across the middle for a pass as I was playing safety. Fortunately for him though, it didn't require a hospital visit. What's interesting is that experience wasn't the first time that I had to deal with the aggression of a so-called teammate whose position I had taken. The first time it happened was in 8th grade when I lived in Kansas City and was playing for a Pop Warner team. Though I didn't get snuck this time, I did end up having a fight with the individual and ended up punching him in his mouth, which caused him to bite through his tongue and stop fighting after seeing all the blood pouring from his mouth. I'm of the mind that those experiences were vibratory experiences that were put in place to test me in light of proving whether or not I was ready for the reality that was about to be manifested. Fast forward a couple years, and I'm sure that coach and so-called teammates saw my name in the local paper. Suffice it to say, I earned a Division I AA football scholarship to the University of Maine, and the rest is history. My lesson and my encouragement for others, there's absolutely no need to become what others see. It is for us to become who and what the Most High has showed us. the chosen, choose. And that, my beloved readers, is the power of vibration and the frequency of belief. I didn't just think it, I walked it. That's what manifestation's all about. And that's the call of the chosen who choose life in pursuit of their purpose. In fact, to choose life is far more than a one-time moral decision. It's a continual act of daily, even moment-to-moment vibrational alignment. Choosing life means consciously tuning into the frequency of Torah, which is the heavenly blueprint encoded with the energy of life itself. Torah is not just commandments written on stone. It is frequency written on the soul, supernal instruction designed to elevate us into resonance with the Most High. Every commandment, every word of wisdom, every rhythm of fulfilling a commandment is a harmonic vibration that draws us closer to our original design. When we choose life, we're choosing to vibrate in harmony with the Creator's intention. When we choose life, we're choosing to manifest our higher selves, to become conscious vessels of Elohim's will in the material realm. And we do this. As we do this, we must know all the more that manifestation is not magic, and that it rather is mathematical and magnetic. Manifestation is the result of alignment, as it is written, "This command I give you today is not too hard for you. It is very near you, in your mouth and in your heart, so that you may do it." Deuteronomy 30:11-14. The doing, or the orthopraxy, is what locks the frequency in place. When our belief aligns with our behavior and our spirit resonates with the instruction of heaven, manifestation is not a matter of if, but when it becomes reality. And when manifestation occurs, the chosen just don't have access to supernal energy. We become both conduits and conductors of it. In fact, we embody it and become the vibration that transforms the world. The law of vibration, one of the 7 universal laws we explored in the Transfiguration movement number 30, states that everything moves, nothing rests. That includes our thoughts, our words, our intentions, our frequency, our actions. When we align our vibration with Torah, with truth, with the universal blueprint, we enter into the field of manifestation. Scripturally speaking, Messiah Yeshua's life modeled the highest vibration of manifestation and universal alignment. When we revisit John 2, the wedding at Cana, early on in the witness accounts, we are exposed to the power of manifestation in his life. What we must understand in this instance is that he was not performing a party trick or showcasing supernatural theatrics. What he performed was a revelation of spiritual alchemy in motion. When he turned water into wine, he wasn't simply manipulating matter in a magical way. He was embodying Ratzon Elyon, the supreme will. His consciousness was so attuned to the frequency of the Father that matter obeyed his intention. In terms of Israel's sacred science, Yeshua was functioning through what is known as the Sefirot, specifically the channels of Binah, understanding, and Malkhut, which is manifestation. Water, corresponding to Chesed or lovingkindness, was elevated into wine, often associated with Gevurah, which is severity and intensity. This balance of right and left pillars flows through Tiferet, the harmonizing force, which is often identified with the Messiah himself. From an alchemical lens, water represents the prima materia, the base element, pure and potential fulfilled. Wine, on the other hand, is the result of fermentation, transformation, and elevation. What takes weeks or months in the natural realm happened instantly through divine consciousness. Yeshua didn't defy nature. He revealed its highest potential. He activated what Kabbalah calls koach hamadimeh, the power of sacred imagination, fused with divine intention, kavanah, thereby altering the molecular structure through a shift in frequency. This was not the suspension of law, but the fulfillment of it on the highest level. The Zohar explains that all things come into being through speech and resonance, the vibration of divine wisdom. Yeshua, the living Devar or word, spoke not just to be heard, but to shape reality. His words were not noise, they were carriers of form. This is the hidden science of the otiyot, the Hebrew letters, as vessels of divine energy. When the Messiah spoke, The vibration encoded in those utterances merged intention with manifestation. This moment at Cana was not about impressing the crowd. It was about revealing the kingdom. It showed us that the mind and spirit aligned with Torah, clothed in humility and overflowing with divine love, can transfigure the elements of this world. That's not a miracle, it's a mirror, a reflection of what becomes possible when the inner alchemy of the soul reaches its divine temperature. When we too resonate with the frequency of heaven, we no longer just witness miracles, we become vessels of them. The Torah teaches us that we are made Batselim Elohim, in the image of Elohim. This means that we are vessels designed to channel heavenly frequency. In fact, we are told in Ephesians 1:4 that He chose us in the Messiah before the foundation of the world to be holy and blameless before Him in love. Here we find the Hebrew word for chosen is bachar, meaning to select or elect. But if you break down the letters, Beit is house or vessel, Het is the inner chamber of the life force, and Resh is head or thought. To be chosen is not a title to be flaunted. It's a calling to choose righteously. It's not about elitism. It's about function and frequency. It means to be a favor chosen not just for favor, but for responsibility. According to the Dictionary of Torah Names and Words, Bahar also implies a conscious effort toward mastery and knowledge. This means that the chosen are not passive recipients. They are active participants. They are those who continually choose to align with the higher path, to master their yetzerim, their inclinations, and to pursue the knowledge that leads to transfiguration. In other words, being chosen isn't a badge. It's an obligation of esteem, requiring discernment, discipline, and dedication to the Most High's frequency. The chosen choose to vibrate in truth. They choose to act in faith. The chosen choose to walk in the way, not just for themselves, but as living channels of the Most High's purpose in the earth. This sacred calling of being chosen is not a one-time designation, but a continual decision. It means waking up every day and choosing alignment over chaos, purpose over passivity. The chosen are distinguished not just by identity, but by intentionality. We choose to vibrate with heaven's rhythm, to manifest the kingdom through conscious obedience. And that's why the Torah doesn't just describe us, it directs us and gives us a clear and powerful charge, one that echoes through the ages and lands squarely on our shoulders today. Deuteronomy 30:19 calls us to be just that decisive. I've set before you life and death, blessing and curse, therefore choose life. Choosing life isn't just about morality. It's about vibration. It's choosing the frequency of love over fear, faith over doubt, light over darkness. It's choosing to manifest the image of Elohim rather than the image of this world. Of this dynamic, the Zohar says, when the lower world is aroused, the upper world is moved. This is because our thoughts create ripples in the cosmos, and our words activate patterns in the unseen. What is even more so evident is that our actions either confirm our alignment with Torah or expose our dissonance. This is why the Hebrew concept of halakha, walking, is so vital, because it's not just belief, it's action. It's not just thoughts or words, but deeds. Even quantum science supports this. Dr. Joe Dispenza, author of the 2017 best-selling book, Becoming Supernatural, How Common People Are Doing the Uncommon, teaches that when our thoughts, emotions, and actions align, we activate the quantum field in our favor. Reality then responds to the coherence of our internal world. In the same way, the Torah calls us to walk in achdut, oneness, alignment, coherence. In the video, The Quantum Protocol by Grim-Faced Motivation, the speaker notes that being chosen is not just about privilege, it's about responsibility. The fact that the quantum field is something not without us, but something that we find within, it is as such that when we rise in vibration, when we walk in accordance to the law of correspondence and unity, we don't just reflect Elohim, we co-create with it. As we said in installment number 32, The Torah is revolutionary because it transforms behavior and realigns reality. To manifest as the chosen is to embody intention, alignment, and sacred responsibility. It's more than believing you're called. It's about vibrating with that call and walking it out daily. Manifestation isn't magic. It's the result of a mind aligned with truth, a heart rooted in faith, and actions that reflect the will of the Creator. Being chosen doesn't exempt us from effort. Rather, it empowers us to move with universal, selfless purpose. Therefore, when we live in accordance with Torah, when our thoughts match our walk and our frequency matches our faith, manifestation becomes the natural outcome. At this point here, I'd like to suggest 7 practical steps to walk in that power and manifest as the chosen. 1. Elevate your thoughts. Feed your mind the word. Think thoughts of peace, purpose, and purity. Philippians 4:8. Align your emotions. Don't allow fear or shame to lower your vibration. Speak and sing praises. Gratitude is magnetic. 3. Speak life. Proverbs 18:21 says life and death are in the power of the tongue. Speak what you seek. 4. Walk the way, halach. Follow the derech, the path of Torah. Don't just believe right, do right. Actions anchor vibration. 5. Create in faith. Visualize, journal, plan, set righteous intentions. James 2:17 reminds us that faith without works is dead. 6. Guard your gates. What you listen to, watch, and engage with shapes your vibration. Protect your energy. And 7. Dwell in community. Iron sharpens iron. And we need kingdom-minded people around us to stay accountable and uplifted. The Transfiguration movement is a celestial wave calling us to rise, resonate, and reflect heaven on earth. To choose life is to choose vibration, alignment, and manifestation. We are not random beings caught in chaos. We are holy vessels vibrating with purpose. And the chosen are not just called, they choose to choose. Our Master informs us of this reality as he informed his disciples in John 14, verses 20 through 21. In that day, you shall know that I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you. He who possesses my commands and guards them, it is he who loves me. And he who loves me shall be loved by my Father, and I shall love him and manifest myself to him. Yehuda, not the one from Kiryot, said to him, Master, what has come about that you are about to manifest yourself to us and not to the world? Yehoshua answered him, if anyone loves me, he shall guard my word, and my Father shall love him, and we shall come to him and make our stay with him. Here we have the formula. Yeshua didn't stutter at all. When he said, he who possesses my commands and guards them, it is he who loves me, and I shall love him and manifest myself to him. The word manifest isn't symbolic. It's literally vibrational. It means that when our love is demonstrated through obedience, alignment, and devotion, the presence of the Most High is revealed within us, through us, and around us. This is transfiguration. This is vibration matching revelation. This is the celestial equation for those who truly want to enter the field of manifestation, not just naming it and claiming it, but becoming it. You want the word made flesh in your life? Guard the word. You want to manifest purpose? Walk in obedience. You want to transfigure your reality? Tune your frequency to the love, law, and light of Elohim. So here's the charge. Start vibrating like someone chosen. Start thinking, speaking, walking, and building like someone who carries the DNA of destiny. Refuse to be lukewarm. Refuse to be double-minded. Refuse to live beneath your calling. The Father and the Son are seeking a home, and they've made it clear. They dwell where love and obedience align. So let them find their address in you. Because chosen ones don't wait for the world to change. We manifest it. And the time is now. Manifest. Selah.